Lal College and from different colleges of Delhi University and outside. All participants and scholars and students. Uh, I'm Dr. Sitaram. I'm faculty in the Department of Political Science. On behalf of Gandhi Study Circle, I'm hosting this program, and we are organizing this event, today's event, in collaboration with IQAC and Department of Political Science. Gandhi Studies Circle is organizing this event, and the title is Relevance of Gandhian Thoughts and Ethics during the COVID pandemic and after. On the occasion of 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before I introduce our speakers to all of you, let me briefly say a few words about SLC, Shyamlal College. Shyamlal College, co-educational constituent college of Delhi University, was established in 1964 by the great visionary and entrepreneur, Padma Shri late Sri Shyamlal Gupta, the then chairman of Shyamlal Charitable Trust. The foundation stone of the college was laid down by Dr. Zakir Hussain, the then Honorable Vice President of India and Chancellor of University of Delhi. So the aim of the college at the time of inception was to make quality education accessible to economically and educationally backward community, particularly of East Delhi, and especially for girls, students. So since 1964, when it was established, it has come a long way and has become one of the centers of academic excellence. So the college runs many undergraduate programs, 9 undergraduate programs, and in recently our visionary principal sir has introduced many new courses, add-on courses and skill enhancing courses, particularly foreign languages and other courses. Also, the college runs postgraduate courses, and in order to keep up with the rising, pedagogical demands, the college recently upgraded its infrastructure and other academic facilities for our faculty members and students in particular. So over the years, with the leadership of our principal, we have a very rich collections in our libraries, and ICT enabled libraries have been established, and many other efforts are being actually made by our principal sir to improve quality education and to maximize the teaching learning outcomes. So in order to improve teaching learning outcomes, the college, with the leadership of the principal itself, started centers, 5 centers, very important centers of learning. For instance, Center for Holistic Development, Center for Industry Interaction and Skill Development, Women Development Cell, then Ambedkar Study Circle, and of course, Gandhi Study Circle. So over the year, with the leadership of our principal sir, the college has developed, deep environmental concerns, and you can see the difference before and after, he's joining the college. So basically, I would like to say that, He has converted the campus into an eco-friendly and environmental friendly or a green campus. This place has become really one of the finest places to actually exchange, knowledge or ideas. Uh, Before that, let me, I can go on and on. Many things has been actually have been done to improve the quality education in the college. But let me briefly say a few words about the Gandhi Study Circle. The Gandhi Study Circle was also started with the leadership of our present Honorable Principal Sir. And the college, in its effort to maximize the teaching learning outcomes, established Gandhi Study Circle that offers unique platform and opportunity to the students to have a wholesome learning experience. The center, organizes many events every year, national and international events to uh, revisit and debate Gandhian thoughts and ideals and his teachings to our younger generations. So it tries to inculcate Gandhian values and ideals such as simplicity and selfishness, etc., etc. So this Gandhi Study Circle works on the principle of reviving Gandhian ideals and teachings. So this is what the Gandhi Study Circle has been doing. But now let me uh, introduce today's speakers. In fact, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speakers today. We are who are actually going to talk to us about Gandhian thoughts and its relevance in a changing and tough time. Present COVID pandemic. Of course, through a broader perspective, they will be addressing these issues through their own perspectives. So our respected speakers will present to us how we can actually overcome such challenges posed by pandemic and declining ethics and morality in our societies, and uh, and also broadly, share their thoughts and enlighten us. So all, as we all know, that the entire humanity is, going through hardships, and I think we need to uh, uh, discuss more. Academically as well as spiritually from various vantage points. So this is, of course, a subject in which we are deeply interested. All of us are deeply interested because it is affecting all human beings, and we are deeply distressed also. So our speakers with extensive authority about the subject will certainly enlighten us. So let me first introduce our first speaker, uh, uh, Swami Chaitanya ji. Uh, is a monk pursuing his, spiritual calling in Rishikesh. I came to learn about him that throughout his career, he has been a brilliant scholar. He studied in Delhi University's Hindu College, and also he did all his higher education in Delhi University. And he started his career as a faculty member in Delhi College of Arts and Commerce. Uh, and uh, uh, and then he switched over to various jobs. Various several jobs. Worked in multiple sectors, including academia, media, then government, and then international organizations, World Bank, etc., and non-governmental organizations, and of course aid agencies. But he never felt truly fulfilled. So after having worked with such an, important, internationally uh, recognized institution like World Bank for decade, he moved away and moved to Rishikesh, beckoned by his inner callings. And in order to pursue the study of Upanishad and other philosophical scriptures under the learned guidance of Acharyas of Kailas Ashram. So he spends his time in reading uh, religious scriptures like Upanishads and all. And he's an authority because he is an authority on various traditions, religious traditions in India. He has deep knowledge about India's, baggage of religious traditions. He spends his, time studying all this stuff and working along the, he likes, working along the Ganges, traveling and counseling people in distress in particular. So we are very honored to have him in today's event. So a big clap to him. The second speaker is Devashish Anandi. He works with the Department of Philosophy in Hindu College, University of Delhi, and he earned his doctoral and MPhil from Delhi University itself, and master degree in Indian philosophy and religion from Banaras Hindu University, and has triple undergraduate degrees. One from Allahabad University, Bachelor of Philosophy from Vishwa Jyoti Gurukul Varanasi, and Bachelor of Theology from Gyana Dipa Vidyapit, Pune. So his broad areas are basically on classical Indian philosophy, continental philosophy, hermeneutics of religious language, theorizing self and consciousness in Indian philosophy, and comparative philosophy and religion. So he has also been in association with many institutions, like he's an elected president of Indian Association for the Study of Religion, and has affiliation with the International Association for the History of Religion, then Indian Philosophical Congress, and Association of Christian Philosophers of India. Today we have also Dr. Kosa Tiwari, convener of IQAC. Dr. Kosa Tiwari, as convener of IQAC, has been spearheading many innovative initiatives in the college to improve overall quality education in the college, overall learning quality in the college. And her encouragement is a source of inspiration for all of us to organize events like this. Thanks for coming. And next, I have no words actually to speak about the principal, sir. Professor Ravi Narayan Kaur, besides being the best educational innovator, is also a fine human being and a very compassionate person. So he, through various initiatives, has actually transformed the college into one of the finest institutions of teaching and learning. Under his leadership, the college is not just one of the best institutions within the Delhi University, rather it has come to national limelight and ranked nationally also very well. So we can very well understand his contribution in building institutions like Shyamlal College. So we have, seen administrators, overseeing works, but here is a person, here is somebody who works very hard and encourage this teamwork. So I must say that without him, today's event would not have been possible. So thank you, sir, for your guidance. Then and thanks for coming and making this event possible. Next, I would say a few words about our convener of Gandhi Study Circle, Dr. Nina Siris ma'am, is a senior faculty of the Department of Political Science, and this event is spearheaded by her. So this event has been organized with her able convenership and guidance. Now, uh, I would not like to, stand between you and our speakers. So now I would call upon Dr. Kosa Tiwari to give her remarks, uh, and then uh, we'll continue the session further. So over to you, ma'am, Dr. Tiwari.
Good evening, everyone. Uh, Thank you, Sitaramji, for the brief introduction of the program. And I must congratulate Gandhi Study Circle for organizing this event on this day today. As this event holds immense value because Gandhian thoughts are very relevant and pertinent in present scenario and present times. So I must thank you for organizing the program. I must thank the leader of this say that Gandhi has inspiration for because he made a transformational change. And I remember, I think Bharat said that he embodies that is possible when ordinary people come together to bring about great changes in society. And these present times basically require that kind of inspiration. And I must also say that Gandhian principles, Gandhian ideals are extremely relevant and thought-provoking, and there is a lot to learn and execute accordingly in the present time, specifically during this pandemic. His ideas ranging from Sarvodaya to trusteeship to Swadeshi, which is the call of our honorable Prime Minister also, when he talked about Atmanirbhar Bharat and self-reliance, as well as trusteeship, when we talk about how the rich the rich of the country must come together to help those who are in need, always and specifically in these times when a great people are suffering as well as socially, and health is also the pandemic. He has been an inspiration, his thoughts have been an inspiration, and these are the times when we need to learn from them and accordingly act and move together and come together. So in the end, I would just like to say, our esteemed speakers of the day, Swamiji and would be shedding more light on these ideas for our audience and participants. IQAC of the college, of course, has been organizing such events since the beginning, and this event specifically holds a special importance for us because it's relevant in all the areas, socially, politically, economically. Gandhian ideas are there to learn from, in all directions, in all matters of social life and personal life. So I'm hoping that our esteemed speakers and guests are going to throw more light on those ideas and their relevance in COVID-19 pandemic. I must also thank our principal sir for showing us the way to achieve excellence at the institutional level, by organizing programs which benefit our stakeholders, specifically also for making more academic and that is the reason that he was the one who established these centers in the college, including these studies. So thank you so much. I thank the circle principal he has taken in the college, and I must thank all the participants who have joined us today. Thank you. Over to you, Sita Ramji.
Thank you, Dr. Kosa Tiwari ma'am, for such encouraging words. Now, I would like to call upon our Honorable Principal Sir, Professor Ravinarayan Kaur, to throw some lights and also to welcome today's speakers uh, uh, who have, agreed to actually come in a short notice. So I would like you to give your own remarks and then welcome our speakers of the day. So over to you, sir.
Namaskar ji. Am I audible, I hope?
Yes, sir.
At the outset, I must congratulate our Gandhi Study Circle for organizing a very, very relevant and seminar on a very, very contemporary topic. At the outset, Sitaramji has said very humble words about all of us. But when this we visualize, we started this Gandhi Study Circles Center in Samlal College. So he was given the charge of this Gandhi Study Circle. And like a true Gandhian, from a very initial stage, inception stage, we have taken it by brick by brick. Dr. Sitaram and Dr. Nina Shiris, both these senior faculties from the Department of Political Science, they helped me in building this Gandhi Study Circle and which has helped in inculcating the Gandhian values and principles in the students of our college. I'm really proud of the achievements of our Gandhi Study Center. And I think this is for the second consecutive year where our efforts have been also recognized by the University Gandhi Bhavan. So we have been awarded for that. So once again, congratulations to the Gandhi Study Center for organizing. And secondly, the IQAC is also under the leadership of Dr. Kosa. All the time we have been innovating and we have been organizing, as you have seen, a lot of quality programs as far as teaching learning is concerned, and we always want to take it further and to give some value addition to our students, and which have also giving us good results. And as I have been telling, my students are no lesser, so they ought to get all benefits. Even for organizing today's webinar, I'm not very sure because we thought that this should be, celebrated with a physical presence, and we generally do a cleanliness drive of the campus and planting of saplings and a lot of other activities we carry out every year. But at last, when all options are closed and actually we couldn't have gone to do that. So finally, I agreed with the proposal of having it. And second was that there are all the time, everyone is holding a webinar or on the auspicious day. So I thought whether we would be able to garner that kind of support and participants. But I am amazed that we are having more than 125 participants when each college, each institution in the country, they are also organizing online webinars and seminars on this auspicious day. So I must congratulate and compliment all the participants and wishing them a very happy Gandhi Jayanti. And on the auspicious occasion of 150th anniversary, the celebrations which is completing, we have also achieved our objective of at least contributing to the Gandhian values and cultures. Like when we started this 150th celebrations last year, we started with Gandhi and environment and Gandhi with sustainable development. So with these thoughts, and today we are closing with the relevance of Gandhian thoughts during the COVID times and after also. So these Gandhian principles and practices, that is going to stay. And as we have two august speakers with us, Swami Shyam Chaitanyaji, who is a master of the Upanishads, and still he is very humble. To all the time he's saying, I'm a student, I'm a learner. Yes, of course, we are all learners, but definitely all the participants, all of us are looking forward to listen from Swamiji. And he has vast knowledge, vast experience in different countries of the world also. And finally, when he is as a student of Upanishads and Gandhian thoughts also, he could share also more light on Gandhian thoughts and how Gandhiji also would like to have interpreted Upanishads in the present times. And once again, I extend a very, very warm welcome to Swami Shyam Chaitanyaji. And with us also, we had another master, Dr. Devashish Anandi. I'm amazed to see he has 3 bachelor's degrees also. And he is also authority on religion, philosophy. So, and truly he is a Gandhian, as has been projected, and we are all keen to listen to his interpretation of Gandhian ethics and values and the relevant of, as you said, in the COVID times or the present times, how times are very, very tough and how we can imbibe those. So as Dr. Kusha also told that Atmanirbhar and how Gandhian values of self-reliance, for even Gandhiji, if I remember my experiments with the truth, the hair cutting episode where he has narrated, all of us are following that today. So a lot of self-reliance things we have imbibed. Yeah, the pandemic has forced us to imbibe. And so with these words, I won't take much time as Swamiji has another commitment also. I won't take much time, but I must once again congratulate the Gandhi Study Circle and IQAC, and particularly led by Dr. Nina Shiris, Dr. Sitaram, Dr. Kusha, for coming together to organize this webinar. And with these words, once again, I welcome all the participants, all dignitaries and guests. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your remarks and encouraging words. Before I invite our first speaker of the day, I would like to make a small announcement to the participants. If you want to ask any questions to our speakers, kindly post your questions in to the chat box, and after the lecture we'll address those questions to our speakers. So do not forget to actually mention your name also, and so that it would be convenient for us to actually uh, uh, you know uh, address your question to the speakers of the day. Uh, We are very honored that Swami Syama Chaitanya ji is with us today. I would like to invite him to enlighten us on the topic today. So over to you, Swamiji.
Yeah, I think now I'm unmuted. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the invite. It's a great occasion to talk to young students. I loved talking to students when I was a teacher in Delhi University. That was a long time back. Now, of course, life has become harder because of the lockdown, but this has brought us together and closer. So in a way, this crisis has provided an opportunity to reflect on life, which otherwise kept us very busy and we never had time to sit and think. But this pandemic has kind of both exposed us to a lot of risks. We have lost near ones and dear ones because of the pandemic, but at the same time, we've also sort of become closer to each other by sharing our pain, our anxieties, our questions, and we are learning from each other. Now, this pandemic actually started as a biological disaster or a calamity or a crisis or emergency, but it has kind of affected all spheres of life. It has affected the economy, it has affected lives of millions of people who are migrant workers who have to walk hundreds of kilometers to go back home. And then again, pick up trains to go back to work where they can have some source of income, because that is a major challenge for them. Thank God that we still have 60-70% of people dependent on agriculture, and agriculture as a sector hasn't been much affected. The activities are still going on, but then as a source of income, these people who are so-called farmers, they do wage labor throughout the year, except for these cultivation and sowing season. In that sense, they have huge household income losses, and they have problems. And then in addition to that, this whole expenditures associated with this health disaster and inability to look after the education of their children. And children are also big losers, including the students who are part of this talk today, because we are missing out on the regular classroom interactions, which are a source of inspiration for the students. They clarify their doubts, the teacher have a chance to clarify what they're teaching. That opportunity has got affected, because of which we are speaking through technology. And then we have other risks as a nation. We have problems at the border, then we have certain events. I do not know why the human mind sort of functions the way it does in a crisis. It's supposed to turn spiritual, but sometimes it turns devilish, depending on what sanskaras we have, and that is what Bhagavad Gita is saying. So today, we had two great sons of India who took birth. One was none other than Mahatma Gandhi, father of the nation. But we also had another very simple person who was very Gandhian in his attire, in his behavior. Lal Bahadur Shastri was also born today, in addition to many millions of people that we don't know about. So I thought that I would speak rather on Bhagavad Gita and Mahatma Gandhi and the relationship between them. Because Bhagavad Gita as a text was discussed where, if you ask yourself, this text was discussed in a warfare. And who was asking questions? The person who was in a Vishada, he was in a depression, and he did not know what to do. He asked Lord Krishna to put his chariot between two armies, and then suddenly he saw his relatives, his friends, his teachers, and said, I am not going to fight. Krishna says, why? He says, why should I fight? The people for whom I am here to fight are here to die. I don't want to fight this war, and I don't want to hurt people. Forget about the heaven. I'm not interested in anything. I mean, that's what he's saying, and he quotes from different sastras. And Krishna notices that he's essentially afraid. So we got to judge our minds. A lot of students drop out from examinations. They sort of run away from their responsibilities at certain times, and they kind of try to justify it in their language by saying that we had health crisis, or maybe there's a sister's marriage, my mother isn't well. These are the Arjuna kind of problems. And Lord Krishna, just imagine, this is not actually a narrative of any event. Had it been so, the advice will stop in a couple of minutes. He has a long discourse and the whole text is 700 verses, obviously one has to be completely stupid as a coach or a professor or as a teacher to give such a long lecture in a war field when other people are watching. So obviously it's fantastic. That is not real. And therefore, to start with, there's a lot of debate and discussion whether Bhagavad Gita kind of justifies violence, and Mahatma Gandhi was dedicated to non-violence. And how did he ever say that Bhagavad Gita is my mother, it's my inspiration of life? How did he manage to say that? And there's a lot of academic curiosity about this question, a lot of debate. And then from spiritual point of view, I have to look at Mahatma Gandhi, how he used it to inspire his own political work, and how he saw that his own political struggle for freeing the nation from the clutches of British rule was part of his spiritual sadhana. So in that sense, he was kind of an integral sadhaka who was looking at all aspects of his life as aspects of a holistic aspiration for self-realization, if I can put it in these words. So Bhagavad Gita, he liked it for several reasons. Number one, he liked it because unlike the Upanishads, if you open the Upanishads, if you read Ishavasya Upanishad, or if you pick up Kena Upanishad, which is even more difficult, where the guru tells the student, the one who says he knows, he doesn't. The one who says he doesn't, he knows. It's completely confusing because he is saying you cannot know the Brahman as different from you. So the one who says, I know Brahman, he's lying because he doesn't know. Brahman is not an object to be known. Truth is not an object to be known. You are the truth. So the one who says, I don't know, knows. So this is a cryptic language. This is not meant for a farmer or worker. This is not meant for a housewife. This is not meant for a retired couple. They will not make sense of it. So Bhagavad Gita, in a way, has something for everybody. It's like a mall. You can pick up what you want. If you're a devotee, you can pick up verses on devotion, okay? And you can get inspiration from it. If you're a student, you can pick up some verses on how to study well, how to do some yoga, how to meditate, how to focus on your work. Don't think about the results. So there is something for everyone. Therefore, that's one of the reasons why Bhagavan Mahatma Gandhi appreciated the practicability of the Bhagavad Gita. That was one important thing. And second one was that unlike Upanishad, Sankaracharya kind of forcefully argues that Bhagavad Gita is actually talking about liberation by realizing the universal unity between the individual, between the part and the whole. There's nothing called God. God is a name given to the absolute truth called Brahman. When that absolute truth wears the coat or cloak or overcoat of Maya or delusion, it becomes God. The God is nothing. Whether you have so many gods and goddesses, the Vedantist is not bothered because he thinks, well, different coats, different appearances. It's like you have a crystal and you put that crystal on a blue sari, it looks blue. Put it on a red sari, it looks red. The crystal has no color of its own. Similarly, the Brahman, or the absolute truth, has no name and form. And if you pray to it, it cannot bless you because God is very kind. No, Brahman isn't kind. It doesn't have any qualities. It doesn't have any form. It doesn't have any name. It doesn't have any qualities. It assumes all these when it becomes Ishvara, or it becomes God. And why it becomes God? That's because we are ignorant. We do not realize that we, God, all of us, are aspects of one vast, infinite, all-pervading, pure consciousness. This pure consciousness is Sat because it was there in the past, it's there in the present, it shall be there all the time in the future. Chit because it is conscious. Ananda because there is no happiness beyond this. There is no bliss beyond this. It's like a child. A lot of women are picking up the child, but the child is crying. The moment it meets its mother, the baby stops crying because the touch of the mother liberates it, gives it calm. Same way, if you know yourself, if you find who you are, you don't need anything else. That's what the Vedanta, the Upanishads say. You don't need any god or goddesses. What you know in the end is that all-pervading pure consciousness, and you are just a tiny part of it. You think you are tiny because you see yourself as a body, as a mind. This body-mind complex is a limitation you are imposing on yourself But in deep meditation, when you go deep inside, there's no religion, there's no Christian, there's no Hindu, there's no Muslim. There's nothing except that isness. There is, and that is the vast presence of the divine truth without name and form. And that's a fundamental, that's why a lot of people say that, okay, you read any philosophy, but if you can start enjoying, Sankara, it's very intoxicating because there's nothing beyond that. It gives you tremendous happiness. Just to give a tiny example, when Yajnavalkya, who had two wives, incidentally, one was very earthly wise, this worldly, the other one was like a bright student who was also a wife. So she used to all the time argue with him. Her name was Maitreyi. The other wife was Katyayani. And one fine morning, Yajnavalkya says, I'm going to the forest. And Maitreyi says, hold on. Why are you going? He says, I'm going in the search of immortality, in the search of, that bliss. He says, and I'm giving you 1,000 cows, all these bright young students. You'll become the Guru Mata, the mother teacher, and take care of them. Be like a professor. They're going to take care of you, and they'll bring wood for you, and they will bring fruit and vegetable for you. We have so much of land. Be the, empress of this big ashram. And she's saying, would I get immortality by getting all this? Yajnavalkya says, no. Then that's why I'm going to the forest. He said, okay, tell me about it. And Yajnavalkya gives that long lecture in which the husband loves the wife, not because he loves the wife, because he loves himself. The wife loves the husband, not because she loves the husband, but she loves herself. Why? Because when you say you love somebody, who comes first? It's you. If you're not there, there's no love. Love is an aspect of an activity of yours. So what comes first? It's you. And therefore, he says, you need to know the self, because that is the matter of primary investigation. And this, according to Vedanta, is the primary message of the Bhagavad Gita, Tat Tvam Asi. So the first 6 chapters is about Jiva. It's about Tvam Padartha. It is about you. And the second 6 chapters, 7th to 12th, this is about Tat Padartha, the divinity, the beyond. It's about here, it's about beyond, and then last 6 chapters, it's about a samanvaya, or a harmony, or equivalence, or integration between this world and what you don't see. And there's no difference. There's an imaginary difference between Jiva and Ishvara. That is what saying. Some of the people say that the first is about karma, good action. Next 6 chapters is about upasana or bhakti. And last 6 chapters is about jnana, its liberation, enlightenment, whichever way you look at it. This is what Gandhi found very interesting. Bhagavad Gita had a few advices for everyone. And this is one of the reasons why it became such a popular text in America. Like, you had Isherwood, you had Aldous Huxley, they called it the perennial philosophy. They kind of adapted Bhagavad Gita into their Christian imagination of a good life, and it kind of tallied. He said that we can take anything without ceasing to be Christians. And they made use of it to sort of enrich their own religious experience. And that was one of the reasons why Gandhi was kind of touched by it. You know that Gandhi was, other 2 great people that Gandhi was very much influenced by when he was in South Africa. One of them was, as you know, Tolstoy. He named one of his farms as Tolstoy Farm. The other one was John Ruskin, onto this last book. So he also had a Phoenix farm where he was kind of trying to experiment with the ideas of John Ruskin's idea about an utopian life. But then he picked up Bhagavad Gita and he was touched by it, and he tried to translate it into Gujarati as a mode of learning the secrets of the text. And he learned it over and over. But I think he interpreted it in his own way. So I just have jotted down a few points for you, because all of you are doing political science, most of you, and others. One thing is that there's a lot of debate in the West right now where the Bhagavad Gita is trying to justify violence. You know that all religions have some scope for what is called a just war. A war which is righteous, which is to defend truth against falsehood, light against evil, or whatever you call it. So even in Indian theological imagination, the Dharma Shastras, they say that to defend yourself, your parents, your guru or acharyas, your wife, your children, or any innocent people who is under attack, you can use violence. It is very clear. in different Smriti literature. But at the same time, they're saying, Ma hinsha sarva bhutani, you cannot do violence to anyone on earth. So these are contradictory statements. They're saying that except for these exceptional situations, you cannot do violence anywhere. And then what do they say? That you can do some violence in the religious rituals. And these religious rituals, they think that these animals will be sacrificed, like goats or whatever. This because the text, even if the text says they meditate on the self, why don't you do that? So they said, even if Vedic approval is there for some ritual violence, this ritual violence is going to give you some sin. So you go to the heaven, but you'll also have a load of sin which will take you to hell for a while. So that's how they sort of turn away from all these karmic rituals. And Shankaracharya was one guy who was attacking all the traditional Brahmins and liberating popular attention away from the rituals of the Karma Kandas or Purva Mimamsa into enlightenment, to focus on the self, to focus on why we are here, what is the purpose of this life, and realize that all of us are part of one undefined universal truth called the Brahman. You can take any name you want. The truth remains. The names are impermanent. The forms are impermanent. What is permanent is the presence. This presence has no name. And that is what is the message of the Bhagavad Gita. It was very difficult for a common student to understand. And therefore, Shankaracharya uses a word again and again. He calls it adhikari bheda. Because what is the quality of the student? If he's coming, you teach him Newton. If he's in class 3 or 4, he's slightly more advanced. You talk about, say, universal laws of gravitation, stuff like that. It's still better than you tell about Einstein. Then slowly you start speaking about quantum mechanics. But if he's a class 3 student, he'll not understand quantum mechanics. Depending on at what level of spiritual aspiration he is, you give some advice to him. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Depending on the disease, you give the medicine. It's not what you like that you can prescribe, but what he requires is what you prescribe. And Bhagavad Gita has a series of recommendations, and these are not, they are incongruous, they're mutually contradictory. Why? Because they are not meant for one person from beginning to end. They're meant for different people who are at different levels of spiritual self-understanding, and they're kind of growing up, and Bhagavan Krishna explains them, and he gets very confused. Are you trying to cheat me? You said jnana is very good, now you're saying you fight, you do karma. He says, no, I'm not cheating you. God doesn't cheat anyone, because God has no business to give anything to anyone, because I have no interest. So I only give you what you deserve. So God cannot be actually kind. We pray God, but as per Vedanta, God cannot give you what you don't deserve. God can give you only what you deserve. He is kind of an imaginary cause. What is the real cause? It's your own action. It's your own life. And that's what Gandhi was trying to purify. With that, I'd like to say that, Gandhi sort of this violent story that we're talking about, he saw Bhagavad Gita as allegorical, as a kind of a symbolic story. It's not that there was a real fight, but it is a fight which is there between the higher and the lower in all of us. In our consciousness, there is light and there is darkness. There is inherited darkness and there is inherited light. And then we are adding more light and we are adding more darkness through our actions. Bad actions, darkness. Good actions, light. Depends on how you choose and what you do. But as we move forward, you cannot be perfect. You have to accept your, insufficiencies, limitations, problems. You have to accept it. Maybe you have 5 pets, one of them misbehaves. It's like a bad emotion you have. Your emotions like your children, whether it's liking for any particular bad thing or a bad habit or getting distracted in a classroom, you have to recognize it. Okay, this is what is with me, but I am not that. I am not my thoughts. I am not my actions. I am pure self. But these kinds of associations are limiting my progress, and therefore I can dump them. I can go forward. The best way to dump is to recognize who you are, and you are the pure self. And that's what the Upanishadic message is. So Bhagavan, Mahatma Gandhi sort of looked at that this Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, is a kind of a depiction of a constant ongoing battle within the human heart. And I think he was deeply influenced at the same time, not only by yoga philosophy, because he was kind of very closely associated for a while with Paramahansa Yogananda, but I think he also had his own reading of Bible, and he was also influenced with the the theological imagination the Christianity is sort of also influencing about this constant battle within ourselves, which is there in yoga philosophy, but also there in a big way in the Christian philosophy. And therefore, it's kind of a allegorical ethical warfare between goodness and badness in all of us, between what's right and what's not so right, or what is wrong. And this is an inevitable war. But remember, he also believed that Mahabharata was not intended to say that war is useful. No, Mahabharata actually shows war is unuseful. Non-violence is more useful. Why? Because who was crying at the end of the Mahabharata? It is Yudhishthira who was very sad. He went to Krishna, he said, why are you playing the flute? I'm angry. He said, why? He said, no, the widows are crying. These are all my relatives. They have lost their sons and their brothers and husbands, and he was just trying to relax. He said, it's not my war. You wanted your villages back. You wanted your country back. I'm playing flute because I'm not a human being. I have no attachment. I just appear to act. But it's like clouds in the sky, give an impression the sky is moving. The sky has no movement of its own. And that's how the divinity has no role. Gandhi used this understanding of Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata to draw inspiration for his non-violent path. But here, he was not terribly impressed with Arjuna's Vishada, that I don't want to kill my relatives and my brothers, because he thought, okay, you're just bothered about your brothers and relatives. What about all humanity? So for Gandhi, non-violence is not concern for relatives. It's concern for all human beings. And that emerges out of this Vedantic realization that all of us are one. And therefore, he did not see anyone. And that brings me to the next important point, which some people are now talking about, that he was somebody who was talking about politics without an enemy. Whenever you do politics, you have an enemy. You want to fight a war. You will treat somebody as an outsider. You feel somebody as an adversary. But Gandhi did not treat anybody as an adversary. He treated the British as friends. Because for him, non-violence was a precondition for truth aspiration, what he called satyagraha. If you're looking for truth, and that is your theology, that is your religion, your search for truth and search for God are two aspects of the same progress towards self-realization. So what Gandhi is trying to say, why should he be your adversary? He is giving you an occasion to test your purity. He's giving you an opportunity to find out how pure, how loving, how caring you are. So it's not easy to understand Gandhi in present context, where we are kind of poisoned with hatred. We are kind of poisoned with indifference. We are poisoned with selfishness, and therefore we cannot understand Gandhi. That's not his fault. Like Vedanta, you don't understand because you are clouded. That's not Vedanta's fault. That is your fault. Because you are not being able to understand Buddha is not Buddha's fault. It's your fault because you're able to look at the subtleties that he's talking about. It's problem. It's largely our problem that we are not being able to see. He was trying to take non-violence to a higher level, seeing this as a spiritual condition, spiritual precondition for satyagraha. And then this is very much in keeping with it's like self-clinching. In Vedanta, it again and again says that unless you have purified your mind, the truth or the absolute of Brahman is avang manasogochara, cannot be known through words, cannot be known through mind. How do you know? Okay, purify your mind. We are talking about a higher mind. The mind should be so clean that the truth reflects like the sun reflects in clean water. Is your mind so clean? It's not? Okay, sorry, can't help you at the moment. You do some good karma. You go do some prayers. That's what the texts say. And that's how, Bhagavad Gita, this whole Vedantic secret that he saw in Bhagavad Gita, he was trying to apply. He was a great karma yogi without attachment to anything. So, Gandhi has some key advice for us during this pandemic. One important thing or takeaway for me is he used to be in jail. He used this time to translate Bhagavad Gita, write letters to a lot of people. And when I was a Marxist, when I was in Hindu college, I was a Marxist, I remember, in Hindu hostel. So I was reading a small book called Gandhian Labor. And I was so angry with Gandhi because he was saying during lockdowns and strikes, the workers should read religious scriptures with their family members, spend time with their children, do homework with their children, clean their houses, and take rest and be kind to the wife. I said, what bullshit he's saying? Workers are without work. They should go and revolt, burn the factory. Why should they do this nonsense? I could never understand what he was saying. What he was saying is, we have to imagine politics as a part of, as an integral part of our everyday life. If you see politics as violence that you can do outside the house, you come back, you can become a gentleman. No, you can't. You cannot practice hatred and violence outside and come back and be a kind person, because your consciousness has got polluted. Your consciousness is tainted. You are just one human being. And you cannot say that me on the streets burning vehicles is a different person from me being kind to my wife and children. No, that's not possible. Your consciousness is affected. And therefore, it was very integral for him to sort of see everything as various aspects of one whole truth. Call self-exploration, call anhisha, call satyagraha. For these words, he was talking about essentially a spiritual evolution. So he was talking about politics without an enemy. And this is another thing I think he inherited from the ancient Indian tradition. You know, there was a great guy called Dharmakirti. He was an Andhra Brahmin. He was a great Buddhist logician. And some people try to strike out some sentences from a great philosophical text he was writing, because you are challenging Hindu thought. So some Brahmin relative came and tried to destroy that text. He wrote another line at the bottom of it saying, we could still discuss it. You don't have to strike off my sentences. Why can't we meet and discuss? You know, look at that tradition that we have lost, because we are not ready to converse with each other anymore. The moment we talk, we shout, we fight. That's so unkind of ourselves, not to be ourselves. We are not being unkind to anyone. We are being unkind to ourselves because we are losing an opportunity to grow as discursive human beings, as people who talk and learn from conversation. Conversation, you know, to have a language is to have a word. And through conversation, most of the philosophy has come in India. If you look at all the philosophical traditions, they always refer to who else has spoken what, they give their answer. And there's a healthy debate. Nobody beat up anyone. It continued for thousands of years. They lived together, but they had arguments. It was going on and on and on, different schools of thought. So I think Gandhi was kind of looking at this whole Puranic tradition as an arena of discursive contestations. Like Ravana is arguing with Kumbhakarna, go fight. You think you woke me up or what? He said, no, it's dharma. I'm the elder brother. You want to fight or not? So they have ethical dialogues all the time. Sita and Ravana. Ravana didn't touch Sita. Sita was in his captivity, but they were having a debate. So I think we need to accept our history. We are kind of ignoring by accepting violence as a normal, as an accepted fact. We are denying our own spiritual tradition to ourselves, because our spiritual tradition doesn't talk about decision without dialogue. That was never there. There's always a decision after a lot of dialogue. There could be indecision, that's fine. Dialogue should be there. But we are trying to force decisions without any dialogue, which is very unkind of ourselves. And that kind of contradicts, you know, that sort of puts a lot of. Then you look at another aspect called the fasting thing. And the whole Hindu pantheon, if you look at it, you know, fasting is an integral part of your spiritual sadhana. It's also there in Islam and Christianity in a big way. But this self-denial, celibacy, for example, which is also there in Christianity. I'm not very sure if it's there in Islam, but it's there in Buddhism. It's there in Jainism. It's there in a big way in Christianity, especially the Catholic school. And then why was denying things to themselves? Because they thought that this whole process of purifying yourself is part of the game, that you deny yourself a few things to clean your system. And Gandhi was using fasting as an opportunity to cleanse one's own actions, as a kind of prayaschitta karma, as a repentance. And at the same time, it's also an occasion for inspiring others, invoking sattvic, guna in others, invoking that spiritual consciousness in others, making him think, making him feel compassion, what he's not being able to feel. By showing compassion, you invoke compassion. That was a game he was playing through fasting. And I think that was very, because, then the question is again, what are you cleansing? Your Atma is Asuddha? No, it's Nitya Suddha. But why are you cleansing? Because it appears as Nitya Baddha. It appears as if it is dirty. And why? Because of your ignorance. So these upashanas, these good karmas, helping others, you might read a lot of philosophy. but helping somebody is 1,000 times better, because by helping, you have a great transformative impact on your own consciousness. And that is something not to be missed. And I think Gandhi, in a way, we are looking at so many modern gurus, but Gandhi was perhaps one of the most saintly gurus that we have, and we are not looking at him that way. And look at his talisman. What did he say? When your mind is in confusion or your heart is not with you, remember the face of the last man and how your action is going to benefit or harm him. So what is he thinking? In that sentence in Bible, the meek shall inherit the earth. And even in the Vedantic philosophy, that this whole idea that all of us are just different aspects of one reality. Gandhi is talking about that. Are you getting confused? Don't get confused. Remember the fundamental truth. Whom are you going to benefit? This talisman, just look at it. How spiritual. And I think during this pandemic, if we apply the talisman, we'll be much more kind to our maid servants, our staff, our students. We can be more compassionate. The bus conductor is very angry, and you are getting angry with him. You want to fight because you are a young student. Think about it. Maybe he didn't get a salary. Maybe he hasn't taken bread. Maybe he's hungry. Maybe he has a heartbreak. Maybe the girl he wanted to marry has got married to somebody else. Maybe he's passing through some health issues. So when you start feeling for that fellow, this feeling of love and compassion is very infectious. It's much more infectious than corona, let me tell you. This is very infectious. And if you practice it, you can infect others with corona, but you don't know, you can actually infect others with your love. You can infect others with your purity, your goodness. And this is what we shouldn't lose sight of. And I think that's one great contribution of Mahatma Gandhi that we not remembering, because we are kind of getting lost in politics. We're getting lost in identity politics. And this identity politics is a contradiction. It's in sharp contradiction with our spiritual tradition. I am not taking any particular name. I'm saying any particular identity politics is kind of devilish, because that destroys the spiritual possibilities of the self to realize itself. It imposes limitations. You want to overcome limitations by doing yoga, then you impose political limitations in your consciousness. You're gone, because you have become blindfolded. You decided to be free. It's like you wanted to be free, then you jump into feature. You'll never come out, So, and then there's a few more interesting things. I'll just wind up because I've taken about 27 minutes. I'll just take another 5 minutes. Bhagavad Gita was also a text where sannyasa is there, but only for the ones who have that vairagya. And what is vairagya? Nitya vastu viveka. First, you have to have that discrimination. What is permanent? What is non-permanent? What is ephemeral? What is transitory? Second, iha mutra phala bhoga viraga. So you lose interest in getting good results either here or in the Pitraloka. After your death, they believe that you go to the land of the forefathers, or in the Swarga, wherever you're no more interested. You are not interested in heaven at all. Why? Because according to Vedanta, liberation is here and now. You don't have to be, if you get liberation or moksha, according to Vedanta, you will not get horns. You will not look more attractive as a girl or a boy. You will not become, you will not have a celestial body that you study in texts. Because of Tantra, he became a young girl of 16. The man was perennially 18. No. Vedanta doesn't say any of this. Vedanta will prepare you to drop this body. Vedanta will prepare you to live like a very common man with understanding, with right understanding. That's all it will offer. It will not offer you houses, cars, fame, attraction, none of this. Divine powers, no. Divine power is an illusion. What it will give you right understanding. So it's up to you whether you want this. There are no miracles here. No miracles in Vedanta. It's free from all miracles. The only miracle is that you'll know yourself. And if you know yourself, it gives you happiness, well and good. If not, look for other things. But you are going away from yourself. Because anything other than yourself is taking you away from yourself. Whether it's a good sari, it's a good dress, boyfriend, girlfriend, job, you do all that. You do all that. But don't get lost in any of this. That is what is the central message. So sannyasa, he was saying that this Bhagavad Gita gives you an option to do karma with phala tyaga. You are not bothered about the results. You are doing dedicated work, not bothered about whether you're going to get a gold medal or not. You're doing your thing, and you are having samatva. equivalence. You are having that, you're kind of a stoic purity of your consciousness. And then it was very practical for him. And Bhagavad Gita doesn't say that worship Lord Shiva or Vishnu. Is these words there? Hanuman, Shiva, Vishnu, Sanidev, these words are there in Bhagavad Gita? No. None of these things are there. Okay? So you can take all these names, Rama, Rashya, good. You can take the name of Rama and Krishna, not a problem. Vedanta is not in contradiction whether you take the name of Jesus or Allah or Ram or Krishna, no, because these are names and forms. There is a truth much beyond this. And that truth in you are non-different. You have to accept that non-difference is the highest truth. That's what it preaches. And therefore it is sarvatmaka. It is all embracing. It doesn't have any fight with anything. Okay? And then, so therefore, you have also sadhana at multiple levels. If you are, at an initial stage, you do good karma. It could be cricket, it could be games. You play, do a bit of charity, take care of your parents, be good to your friends, be good to your husband or wife or children and teachers. You have good feelings, your mind becomes happy. Slowly you graduate, do some upasana. You're still dissatisfied, read Upanishad, then meditate. You graduate like that. Okay? And then this is a kind of a universal appeal because it's not forcing you to practice. I mean, there's certain, you see, whenever there is a text, it has a historical flavor. So you need to know what to omit, what to take. So there'll be some references to Varnashrama. But if you look at Sri Aurobindo, what does he say? Varnashrama essentially means 4 ways in which you engage with the world. So every man has to have some seva karma. He has to have some, he has to be protective about his family and stuff like that. He has to have some financial intuition. Also, he has to have some interest in studies and stuff like that. These are the 4 varnas in every person. That's what he says. So if you are interested, you can do interpretation. Otherwise, you don't have to do. Okay, so you are asking some political questions. I can read those questions. Okay, then Gita is mother. He sort of treated Bhagavad Gita as a mom. Why? He said that, a physical mother can fail you. But, this Gita is my Bible and Quran. It's much more than that. It's my mom. Whenever he's depressed, he used to run to Gita. And he's written in this Gita, my mother, I confess to you that when doubts hunt me, when disappointment stare in the face, and when I see not one ray of light of horizon, I run to the Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me, and I immediately begin to smile and in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. That's what he mentions. Okay, so it's a kind of a life guide. It's so he was liked by it. It was, you need to have a balanced approach to life. And whenever he was trying to do any political activity, he was not a guy who was having fantastic ideas. He was raising very practical issues. Can we do it? Who else would do it? What is possible? What is the gain? Kind of thing. So in that sense, he was kind of a worldly guy. He was a very practical guy. And so on his birthday, we can go on and on, but I'd be happy to hear some questions for you. That, renunciation doesn't mean that you are not paying attention to your studies. It means that you are not obsessed with the result you get, but it means you give all the everything. It doesn't mean being indifferent. No, full dedication without getting trapped into it by looking for good results. Because once you bring ahankara, that means I-ness, mamakara, these are 2 viruses, they sort of mess up that you have in your hands. And so let me stop here because this is an unending topic. Anybody who has the questions that you have, if you can summarize and ask me, then I would like to answer them. Okay, so you have asked a few questions. Okay, I can see these questions. Can I answer your questions? You're saying somebody has answered Gandhi's love affair with a woman in Lahore. Okay. Then somebody is asking his statements about Mopla genocide in Kerala, okay, and then the Baba Sahib Ambedkar Gandhi controversy, okay, the Pune Pact, these three questions. You see, these are political questions. We were discussing Mahatma Gandhi and Bhagavad Gita, right? So so what is saying in that his hand in justifying after Swami Sadhguru killing with respect to Gandhi, is that what his stand is justifying after Swami? Well, you know, you are raising certain political questions, okay? You are raising certain political questions, and these kinds of political questions or these kinds of questions about particular events can be raised about anyone. So people who are critical of Ram, they ask why Ram killed Sumbhaka, who was a Dalit. Those who are critical of Krishna, they ask why Krishna had, he was romancing so many gopis. And then somebody will say why he should have 8 wives, okay? And so all kinds of people have all kinds of interest and they ask all kinds of questions. Depends on what you're interested in, okay? So you're going to a mall, okay? So you to Duryodhana, okay, Krishna could have taught all this to Duryodhana, and why he didn't, okay? Do you know the dialogue between Krishna and Duryodhana at the end of the Mahabharata? When Dusasana kills him, there's a fight, and Duryodhana is about to die. Duryodhana confesses to Krishna, Janami dharmam nasame pravriti. I know what is dharma, what is good action, but I have no interest in it. Janami adharmam nasame nivriti. I know what is adharma, I know what is bad action, but I am not free from it. So he's essentially saying that I am kind of trapped into all this, and so therefore I have no option. And can you hear me, or I got disconnected or something? Hello?
Swamiji, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Actually, we were planning to have
because the
Swamiji, we were planning to have questions at the end of the talk.
Okay, not a problem, because I saw some. Okay, fine. I'll stop here. I saw some provocative questions, so I was just telling you boys that I would just tell you, if you're entering a mall with a purse but you don't plan to buy anything, you might waste money and you will buy things you don't need. So if you are talking about whether Gandhi or Nehru or Vivekanand, you first ask yourself what are you looking for. And if you are looking for something which Gandhi offers, go into him. It's not compulsory for anyone. It's not compulsory for anyone, I tell you, whether it's Gita or Bible or Quran or Vedas, not compulsory for anyone. You have a freedom of choice. If you have a question, you have a deeper question about the self. If you're reading autobiography, if you like it, make use of it. Okay? So that will be my simple answer. And so any of you who is interested can read his Bhagavad Gita. There is a commentary on his Bhagavad Gita. He has also written his My Experiments with Truth. It's available in simple Hindi and simple English. And you can read it like 4 or 5 pages a day. No decision, okay? Don't impose on yourself any decision. Don't jump to any conclusion. Just explore life. You are very young today. As you grow, your views will change. My views have changed, okay? So I'm just giving you a very brotherly advice. Don't jump to any conclusion. Watch, enjoy life, and explore. Have a good time, okay? God bless you. And if you have any questions, we'll listen to that in the end. Okay, thank you so much. I stop here.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji, for such an enlightening lecture. And the deepness with which you analyze things are very difficult for people who have no understanding of our various traditions of religion like as you said, you said very clearly said that it's like an oceanic tradition. It's like an ocean. But you made also a very interesting point that it's an arena of discursive contestation, uh, and also you rightly said that many solutions lies within us, and also stored in such scriptures that you mentioned, you talked about. I know you are the authority on this subject. You spoke, and you rightly said that many of the solutions are actually stored in such scriptures. And you are also right that such scriptures are actually storehouse of liberating ideas. Uh, if there is any relevant questions from our students, that we'll address that to you. But I must thank you for such an enlightening lecture. It was very, very rich lecture. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thank you so much. Vivekanandji, what we should do? Should we address the relevant questions, if we have any, to the Swamiji now, and then we'll move to the next speaker of the day?
You asked him to speak. You asked him to speak. I want to listen to him. Let us have his talk first.
Okay. That sounds good, sir.
Yeah.
And Vivek, ये please
also
खास तौर पे मोहम्मद कैफ and all उनको बोलो, the comments which they are putting, but they're really derogatory, not good. Please उनको बोलो इस तरीके के questions या ना पूछें. कोई नाथुराम गोडसे पर पूछ रहा है तो कोई जय श्री राम कर रहा है. This is not a political platform. We are discussing academics. And in this academics, this is I'm sorry to say, students के लिए खास तौर पे मेरा announcement है ये कि that please don't ask such rubbish questions. Subject related questions पूछिए, academic questions पूछिए. ये questions को इस तरीके से मत लीजिए. You have to respect the speaker.
That's right, sir.
I'm really sorry to say in between I'm speaking, but please that should be made clear to the students. Even मैंने लिख कर के भी उनको बोला है इसका. This is no way of asking the persons.
Right. Yes, we have to adhere to some of some decorum of the event, and as Swamiji spoke on Bhagavad Gita and Gandhiji and the relevance.
No, I absolutely have no problem. We should treat their what they have asked with love and compassion. And if we are talking about Gandhi, we should embrace them for whatever they've asked. It's like,
sir, you are very right. But the question is this: we are discussing academically. So the questions they are asking is not.
It's like a little child slaps the mom. The mom doesn't get angry. The mom smiles. And right, I'm enjoying these questions. I have no problem whatsoever. So if my baby slaps or kicks me, I have no problem. It's love.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you. Sir, Sitaram, sir, please carry
yes,
forward.
yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Not a problem. Why don't you let Miss Auntie speak?
Now, we are also honored to have another practicing Gandhi, Devashish Anandi. He's a very nice human being, and he has been with us for quite a time. And we know his authority of the on Gandhian and Indian philosophy. Now I invite Dr. Devashish Anandi to present share his ideas. Over to you, Dr. Anandi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sitaramji, for the kind words, which are not true, because I'm not a Gandhian. I should come with a kind of, I'm not a Gandhian. for the simple reason that Gandhi cannot be fossilized, into one particular ideology or a particular, trademark. Gandhi himself says that, he is many things to many people. That's it. I'm not a Gandhian. Then why I discuss Gandhi? Because Gandhi stimulates my philosophical thinking. Gandhi has been, I would say, and thanks to my lessons under his great, I would say, philosopher grandson, Ramchandra Gandhi, I was led into his writings, and the very fact that the Western academia, Indian academia, Western academia, or true academia, they have already seen him as a half-naked fakir Mahatma, not a philosopher. That is a kind of euphemism for Gandhi. Yeah, I agree. He is not a systematic thinker like Adi Shankara or Ramanuja or Kant or Plato, but his collected writings cut into 99 volumes, they have a method of spiritual madness, I should say that. In fact, he says at the end, if you find a problem between one of my earlier sayings and later sayings, and if you still believe in my sanity, you should look for truth in my latter saying. He says, in fact, Navjivan Press puts that as a preface to all the writings of Gandhi. So Gandhi is a philosopher. And I look at him in that sense, and I think this is what I saw. Though I'm not a Gandhian, I love Gandhi because Gandhi's writings are, to quote, unquote, unputdownable in our times. So, second thing, I am very angry today. This anger is spiritual. It is not against a person, against a system or anything. I am angry. I just cannot identify the what you call, the object, the person. I'm angry. Why? 2 days ago, all of us learned through social media what happened in Hathras. And Gandhiji had given a name for that people, Harijan, people of God. We also, just that morning, we also heard the court verdict on Babri Masjid, etc. Fine. So my question is this. If Gandhi were to be today in his physical form, where would he be today? I'm sure you would be in that place where early morning 3 o'clock, which is, I think, almost in our classical tradition, that girl's body was burnt, cremated. Okay, he would be there having a satyagraha. So today, I philosophically, spiritually, I feel this anger because I feel his absence. And we need to take this because Gandhi challenges me that my thinking, my vichara, and my achara, my conduct, they have to have some kind of synchronicity. That's why I love Gandhi. He never took to saffron clothes, I mean, he was a yogin. In fact, he was all the Sanskrit terms in our tradition for asceticism was given to him. The title Mahatma was given to him by his own philosophical opponent, not physical, philosophical, Tagore. And Gandhi called him Gurudev. Look at that. This is Gandhi. The Gandhi whom everyone loves to hate, I would say that. That's the Gandhi I like to speak today. And I again say, I am not speaking as a Gandhian, but I speak as a person, as a student of Indian intellectual tradition who is moved into his corpus of writings. Here is a man, a person who has interwoven our aspirations. Now, the topic of my talk is this: revisioning the ethics of care, a Gandhian response to the COVID-19 pandemic today. The world is COVIDized, I call that word. Now, ethics of care, I mean, those of us who do ethics in philosophy or political theory or sociology, we know ethics of care or care ethics is a term which is linked to what one might call feminist philosophy, feminist thinking, especially the mid-20th century. they proposed that as a justice model of moral theory to bring in the fragility, the vulnerability, okay, empathy, compassion, all these things which a human person is capable of. And in our Indian classical tradition, if you look at the Tantric tradition, exactly, I think they celebrate that. That's why Gandhi never believed in the bodiality of a particular gender. You should read that book by what you call Manu, Bapu, my mother. Mother, father, sister, brother, Dalit, Brahmana, all this, he could incarnate in his body. So my thought is philosophical. It might maybe attract to most of you, but that I cannot help because that's my discipline. I'm called it to. It is the materiality of the spirit and the spirituality of the matter. That is what. And this is a problem across philosophical traditions, mind body dualism, Kaddish dualism. We have also in Sankhya, one of the oldest sorts of a tradition, Purusha and Prakriti. We have the famous problem. Of course, in yoga, we have, they bring in some kind of synthesis, but Sankhya is one of the oldest philosophical schools. In fact, that is the object of criticism by Adi Shankaracharya, my philosophical guru in a sense, in his Brahma Sutra Bhashya. So we need to understand Gandhi philosophically. And I'm happy for the article by Akhil Bilgrami, Gandhi the Philosopher. It appeared in EPW. I'm sure all of you are with that. First time Gandhi is given this name, philosopher, acharya, darshanika, anvikshaki, jo anveshan karta hai. Now I like to say this. What happened at Hathras is a repetition of the partition of a subcontinent. The self is divided. Swa is divided. Yeah, this is what the Gandhi says. I mean, this is what, as I see that. Hathras, what happened is a reenactment of the consciousness of people who are celebrating partition the self. Now the English word is self, the Sanskrit word is swa. So therefore he's termed the little booklet he wrote the ship, Africa to London, back to Africa, Hind Swaraj. Now Swaraj, it is translated as home rule or self-rule. The word swa is a Sanskrit word, all of us know. It has a long history. Tilak used it, Aurobindo would use it, Tagore would use it. It has in the Upanishad, as got, just now, so somebody said about Yajnavalkya's famous axiomatic utterance. Atma vare dishtavya srotavya mantavyo dhishtavyo maitri. Right. Atma. Now my question is this: if Swa is Atman, why we call self-rule or not Atman rule? So this is a problematic self-rule. Self-rule, the word self. So self is understood. Now, what does this self, Swa, mean for Gandhi? I think it is a very, very interesting because I want to link it to what happens today. Otherwise, for me, Gandhi becomes, October 2nd, a celebratory memento I give somebody. Chakka or something. He has been reduced to that, a kind of empty ritual. Gandhi should challenge me. Gandhi should make a difference to my way of thinking, my way of feeling, my way of acting. Because in moral theory, thinking, feeling, acting, all these three are very important. Okay, right. So that's what I asked myself. And Gandhi himself underwent this. Thanks to the translation and the commentary by Anthony Parel, on Hind Swaraj and the writings of Gandhi. And he is the first person to acknowledge Gandhi as a political philosopher. And I don't know how many of us take Gandhi's thought, vichara, as a serious corpus for our political engagement. Now the problem is this: Gandhi says politics by itself is a binary concept. So he is trying to resurrect, to save this notion of self and the swa from the domain of the politics. And he takes into the Indian tradition of thinking about. Of course, we have also the Buddhist tradition. We should also take that. I would see the Buddha tradition and the tradition of the Veda as the two banks of the river Ganges. In fact, it's true. If you stay in Benares, the king of Benares stays Ganga Par, like our college is Yamuna Par. It reminds me that. So when you have to go to Ramnagar to meet the king, because they say in Benares the king is Lord Shiva. So no other king can stay there. How can two kings stay in the same kingdom? So it's the same way, and Gandhi understood this. Therefore, once a week, without failure, Gandhi kept mauna, silence. Yeah, I think that is very important for us, So this is his biggest attack on what I call modernity or the political canon. That human person is only socially active. This is only this body. And the waking mode is the only consciousness. And thanks be to God, COVID-19 pandemic has somehow dethroned this modernity's canon. I am only this body. I am human being only if I am socially active. Yeah, socially active 24/7. As I said, Delhi people never sleep, right? Yeah, I have to be active, socially active. Yeah, talking without soul. So soulful talk. Soulful conversation. Swaraj means you have a conversation which is soulful, not soulless. So there, I believe Gandhi is my biggest inspiration. I should say that. I love Gandhi also one more reason. For one more reason, because he loved going to jail, because that's the time he used to read all the books. If I read the Hind Swaraj, last page, where he quotes the text which inspired him, you will find none of the text from our so-called Indian tradition. No? Everybody is outside so-called Indian, what you call, Indian Vagmaya. All right, the truth is there. Now, Gandhi understood that the word swa, self, can be understood, what you call, wrongly. I say this because pandemic has forced me and you to reclaim our private as the public. Modernity gives me a logical binary between the public and the private. At one can't. What is enlightenment? Critiqued by what you call Foucault. Public reason, public rationality. Gandhi's ashram has no private public distinction. The example is Navakoli experiment. When our political class was busy forming government in Delhi, where was Gandhi? He was in Navakoli trying to quell the communal right between the Muslims and the Hindus. And he thought there was some imperfection in him. As a so-called Mahatma, which had a political word, he said, I don't live that word, but he was trying to live that. So this is Gandhi. So he is asking me and you to have a different type of knowing. What is knowledge? What is knowing? Knowing is not only what you call, logically coherent. That is logical, like mathematics, logical coherence, ontological coherence. Yeah. Gandhi believes in orthopraxis. It is neither orthodoxy nor heterodoxy. He at least he tries. He says that. He says, and often he gives. He is also entering self-doubt. Am I right? I remember in Navakoli experiment, even his closest friends leave him. Nirmal Kumar Bose. Everybody finds fault with him. Okay, right? Everybody finds fault with him. Right. One could question that from the question of feminism, was he right? But I think that will be anachronistic for me to say that. But my question is this: here is a man, here is a person. The word man will be wrong because I don't think he was a muscular person like the muscular nationalism, muscular philosophy, muscular thinking. Right? No, self. Yeah, it could be that. this is my thing. So Gandhi questions this idea of self and its other. The other as a binary opposed to self, as is well put by Jean-Paul Sartre. The other is a hell. Other is a hell. Therefore, one has to deconstruct this, So Gandhi read all this. I mean, I'm not saying he read this answer, but I'm telling you this, he knew this problem. In India, it became the problem between Hindus and Muslims. Okay. And he tried to discover, okay, this. Now, I try to think about what does COVID-19 has made me. COVID-19 pandemic has forced me to deconstruct the binary between the public and the private. My private now room where I pray and where I sleep, where I study is now my classroom. I'm now talking to you sitting on the chair in my private room. Private and the public. And this is the fundamental axiom of modernity. Public and the private. Gandhi deconstructs that. Second thing is Gandhi says, modernity teaches me that this particular form of I am, my particular body, my particular class, my particular religious belonging, my particular ideology, thinking, that is the only way. Therefore, what he says, exclusive predication. I am this. I am only Devashish. I am only a teacher in Hindu college. I am only in Delhi, etc. Now, this is a modernity's second temptation. Gandhi deconstructs that. Now, this is Indic tradition. And this, I think, it is primarily comes from the, I would say, Mandukya Upanishad. I would translate Mandukya as a frog, the wisdom of the frog. Yeah? The frog teaches me, don't simply imagine that you are only this form. That is your hallucination, your illusion. Now, in Mandukya Upanishad, the reality is constructed as fourfold. I am Matadushpad. Fourfold. The waking mode, as you and me are right now. Second is the dream mode. Now, in dream mode, what is my identity? Tell me. I could be anything. I could be a frog. Yeah. I could be in Pakistan. I could be in anywhere in the world. I could be in any star. I could be a mountain. Okay. I could be a tree. I could be a peacock. I could dream anything. All right. Then comes the deep sleep mode. Swapnandam Sushupti. Deep sleep, the problematic is that it doesn't allow me any predication at all. At all. No predication. Now, in philosophy, that's the problem. When I predicate that this is that, then what are you doing? You are circumscribing that entity to that. Now, that is normally taken as an exclusive identity. Yeah. When I say this is a pen, I just cannot say that this also a table. This also is a chair. No. Normally we say, no, this is only a pen. This pen is a pen because it is different from chair, table, etc. Difference. Now, but that is normally seen as exclusive predication. That my Sushupti mode deconstructs. Deep sleep mode. Then of course, our acharyas, our rishis say that that nature of self, well, is true self. Now, what does Gandhi do? Gandhi does not go to Himalayas to study the Gita and the Upanishads or the traditions or the New Testament. No, he takes the tradition. Gandhi reads the scriptures in the slum of politics. In the slum of politics. That's the beauty of Gandhi. And this I can say with some kind of certainty that this he learned from his contact with the people abroad. Engagement. Of course, the Gita therefore is interpreted in that way. The Gita is interpreting. Yeah, that you don't have to. And in fact, this is also quoted by Swami Vivekananda. He has a definition of a true sannyasin and a sannyasin who is for sake of being being sannyasi. So Gandhi interprets this in the slum of politics. Politics. He reads that. Imagine he wrote letters, and he responded to everybody who wrote letters. Early morning he used to get up, and he will squat on the floor and write. Everybody he wrote letters. Dialogical tradition. So Gandhi is saying, in my life, COVID is a problem because I have exclusively predicated myself as only waking mode. A person whose identity depends upon merely social contact, socializing. Well, so this is a blessing in disguise. I think COVID-19 makes me realize now to disconnect or deconstruct the fabricated, fossilized, or I would say the self which is binary self, the Sua. Okay. Now here is some of you have done Buddhist philosophy. In fact, the notion of Anattavada. Anattavada is very strong. We have two traditions, very, very close. And I remember in Banaras, we have Saranath and the Shashamata Ghat near the Ganges. They both flow together. And they both are there. They don't cancel each other. They coexist. Now, Buddha, he is not denying the self per se as such. Because in politics, the self, very important to know. Yeah. And construct myself. Yes. All right. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Fine. What is this self? Okay. Now, Buddha, as I understand, he is only saying this self has no substantive entity. Anatta. It has no atta. It's only in Pali, anattavada. Okay. I call this self. Now, he gives example. If you look at that dialogue between Nagasena and King of Milinda, you have, there's a discussion about chariot. What is a chariot? Axle, the horses, the screws of the wheel, etc. No, it's a symbol. Now, the best philosopher of the Buddhist tradition, whom I philosophically love very much, is Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna says all these words are conceptual fiction. Usable, very useful, pragmatically useful. We call in philosophy phenomenalism. That they're all concepts, we use them, but don't give them any metaphysical identity. That this is only this. And Gandhiji, this is what I read in Gandhi, thanks to his illustrious grandson, Gandhi, the philosopher worth the salt in modern India, who read him as Gandhi reads this as nothingness, death of this body, death of all that I do that. That is Buddhist anattavada, that you are not predicated to this. So Gandhi understood this. In fact, earlier he thought he would live 100 years, but when he realized that, post-independent India has no use for his philosophical thinking, spiritual thinking, he too was feeling, that I don't hear the inner voice within me. I remember that one of the journalists asked him, Mr. Gandhi, where do you get the strength to do what you do and say what you say? Gandhi opened his upper garment and said, point to the chest, it is here. Chest. And that is also very true. Gandhi's Rama, is not Ayodhya's Rama, as I understand. Hanuman's Rama. Where does Hanuman go when he's asked where is Rama? Doesn't go to Ayodhya. Geographical Ayodhya, piece of land. He goes to the Ayodhya of his life. What is that? The heart. The heart is Ayodhya. Ayodhya, which you want to fight for. If you fight for Ayodhya, it just lost its meaning as Ayodhya. That's it. Look at it. Gandhi sees this. Therefore, he was very much working for Hindu, Muslim, every unity. That we are children of this reality. This reality. Therefore, look at his bhajan, Isharu Allah Tero. He takes from all scriptures. They belong to the Indic soil. The Indic soil. It is not a particular exclusive identification. Yeah, exclusive identification. So this is Gandhi's notion of swa. Now he puts this in political praxis. I used to ask myself, why did Gandhi choose to contest any of the parliamentary elections? I'm sure he was the most eligible candidate for becoming prime minister of the country or the president of the country. But when they were discussing this, he was in Naokoli or in Calcutta. Imagine, Calcutta, imagine. This is Gandhi, because he distrusted parliamentary democracy. He says that the state, he says, it's a violent actor. State can, it can imprison yourself. Nation he accepted. The state, nation, all of you know, political theory, nation state idea. State he had problem. State is built on violence. Whereas nation, yes, we need to have some kind of pragmatic identity. In fact, he says, thanks to British, they gave us idea of a nation. Right, yeah. Okay, right, yeah, he says that. And he also says, I am not asking British to leave India, but they are welcome to live in my nation, country, as my friend, as the friends of this nation, not as oppressors. This is what, I think this is what Gandhi is, as I read. I am happy because I am not the political theory. I am trying to philosophize, to see the unified vision of this person called Mahatma, the great soul, Gandhi. How many minutes more I have got, Sitaramji? I wanted to, yeah. How many minutes more?
Yeah, I should start, concluding.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I asked,
we are running out of time.
I can wind up. Okay, all right. So,
Because we'll have to set some times to actually have, question and answer session.
oh, sure. That's the most important to Gandhi. Therefore, I like to see Gandhi's response to COVID-19 not as a virus which has to be killed by the gun-shaped machine-holding people. No. I don't think so. I feel, in fact, I ask myself, when I go to some places, they test my temperature, or they ask, they have a gun-shaped instrument. They point towards my forehead. This is un-Gandhian. My God, this virus is in the cosmos. Fine. There should be, I think that is a symbol of our, what you call muscular nationalism, right? Muscular, this is what, why should we use that language? Tell me. I understand. And that's why this COVID-19 virus evades all of us. I am told by one of the famous mathematicians, even today, the companies which produce medicines have not discovered a definite mathematical formula about this. Because the moment you say something, it has changes form. Right. So we have to live in the COVID-ized world. Yeah, COVID-ized world. So I think, and of course, this has come also as a result of the human persons treating other human persons and the world and the nature as the other to be subjugated. Of course, I'm not going to patriarchy. All of us know what happens according to Madras High Court. One judge said yesterday, I believe, every 15 minutes, a rape happens in our country. And he calls India land of rapists. Rape of nature, rape of woman, they are philosophical corollaries. Okay? This is it is the nature's way of teaching me. I cannot approach nature as a pool of resources. No, I'm sorry. This is again a beautiful Indic way of thinking about nature. What is inside is parallel to what is outside. The microcosmic reality, which is myself now, is parallel, identical, okay, to what is the outside, the macrocosmic. Okay. For me, it is like Children playing kabaddi. When I think of India and China, fighting on these boundaries, no, mountains belong to everybody. Rivers belong to everybody. I'm sorry, they belong to everybody. Everybody. Sea, they belong to everybody. Oxygen belong to everybody. I cannot say Wagah border oxygen is Pakistan. No. It belongs to the cosmic spirit. I am there, I breathe it. Thank God. All right. So things of this sort. So Gandhi is today. Gandhi is inspired me to philosophically abrogate this idea of binary, partitioned reality. That some are less real. I am the real. I can possess them. I can instrumentalize them. Yeah. Now what happens when that is not there? Power gives way to authority. Now power is different. No, power comes from subjugation. That's why in Swaraj, you have the idea. When Gandhi criticizes modern civilization, somebody asks, what about Western civilization? He says it's a wonder of 7 days. After his assassination, O.V. Vijayan, famous cartoonist, he has a famous cartoon on the papers. So Gandhi says of Western civilization, it's a wonderful idea. Then somebody asks him, what do you think about Indian civilization? It is also a good idea, he says that. Yeah. But Gandhi's challenge is that you cannot have a universal ethical norm for every situation. He makes a big difference there. Why? You have to attend to each individual situation in the way you are supposed to respond. In fact, that is the major difference between care ethics and ethics of Manuel Kant, maybe called but deontological, or J.S. Mill, or what you call it, utilitarian. All theories will be there. Yeah, instrumentalization. Okay. So this is what instrumentalize means. I use that thing, I use that thing for my so-called narrow partisan, idea or objective. So Gandhi is in this way. I can respond to COVID-19 pandemic. It's a philosophical interrogation of the philosophy of life I live every day, and Gandhi teaches me this by his engagement in the slum politics. He brings down, Kailash to, let me say, in Delhi, the Hangirpuri, the slum of politics. There is some love. He sings that, he is that. But, and I think in that sense, he is one of the first Indic minds who has fashioned this interweaving of Purusharthas. That means, Artha is different, Dharma is different, Kama is different, Moksha is different. No. He says, no, both are interwoven. In fact, in his preface to his autobiography, he says that my only aim in life is to see God face to face. Self-realization. That's the translation he has given. I'm told by people like Ajay Karia and Philip Sugrut, famous scholars of Gandhian literature, that the Gujarati version is slightly different. All right, yeah, but he himself translated that into English. So self-realization. Self-realization. This is very important. So this is the idea, Gandhi. So I would say, therefore, COVID-19 is a blessing in disguise. In disguise. It is not to embrace tradition as it is, as Gandhi did. No, it is neither to embrace modernity as it is. Transcend both of them. Use them. Engage with them. A dialogue with them. And avoid the temptation to say that I am only this. I am only this. I am only the particular body. No, I in my deep sleep, I am forcibly, made aware. Obviously, post deep sleep, that I am also the whole, the cosmic reality. What happened in Hathras is this. Well, they say this is bodiality. They exclusively say this person is only a bodiality, and that is the other to be, conquered, killed, murdered, because I am different from that person. That is it. That's why Gandhi termed Harijan. It is Wonderful. And I used to remember this. Why Gandhi termed them Harijan, untouchable? In fact, God alone is philosophically untouchable. I cannot touch my soul and spirit. I'm sorry. I can touch my hands, my nose. I can touch an object. Why? The spirit, by its very nature, does not allow touchability. Therefore, Gandhi is, deeply philosophically embedded in the tradition of thinking deeply about the experience of life. God alone, for him, Brahman, and he was a Ram, thanks to his homemade, in his childhood. He thanks her because she instilled in him that name of Rama, which made him fearless. Otherwise, imagine when the assassin is in front of you to pump the 3 bullets in your chest. What will you say? Gandhi said, "Hey Ram." That is, I call, a testament of radical self-realization. Radical Ramatwa. It is not an objectified God in a piece of land somewhere. No. That Ram dwells in every sentient being, in the heart. I don't need to go to Ayodhya for that. I'm sorry. I can see Ramane Bala. I remember Kabir's famous doha, no? The famous weaver from Banaras. Tera sai tujme jo pahupan mein baas. Kasturi ka meraga fir dhoonte khas. I remember Hindi there, and I remember this. So this is our tradition. And Gandhi recovered that. This one. So that is what I call testament of radical theism. Not, opportunistic or capitalistic theism or political rationality. That's the real politics. Politics of the self. Self which embraces, not binary, not ostracized what they call self. Yeah, this is what. And that is why I like to read Gandhi more. And I see this COVID-19 pandemic, the situation as a given situation allowed by divinity in a sense. So that's the only way we can ask, Gandhi did, imagine, to make me reflect along with you on the philosophical, the spiritual, and non-binary orientation of our human predicament today. Because that is what we are. That's what we are supposed to do. I like to end this short reflection here. Once again, thank you, Dr. Sitaramji and the principal, sir, and the madam, sir, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. I think this is my 3rd or 4th time coming to your college. This is online, virtual coming. Otherwise, it is always Yamuna Par. I said Ganga Par, that you have go to Moksha, having gone to Shamlal College. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Devashish, for such an enlightening lecture. You brought in lots of philosophical epistemic questions, and also highlighted how Gandhian thinking is like an oceanic circle. So I think I'm not because I'm not much into Indian philosophy, so it would not be appropriate on my part to comment on your lecture as such, but I must thank you and compliment you on the kind of insightful lecture that you delivered today. I hope our students, our audience, participants must have got enlightened, benefited a lot from your lecture. Thanks for being so kind and coming and sparing time with us. Now I'll request Dr. Vivekanand to address some of the questions that we received through chat box from our audience to our respective speakers. If there are relevant questions, then you can address those questions to our esteemed speakers.
Right, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
On behalf of Shamlal community and on my personal behalf, I extend gratitude to both the august speakers. Your entire talk was illuminating, and we as teachers and a lot of participants and our students are greatly benefited by your presentations. Thank you so much. We don't have much of questions. There were some nasty comments. We did not give much of importance to them, but I found 3-4 questions relevant to the presentations made by both the speakers. Now, there is one question, I think it was directed to Swamiji, since Swamiji was trying to did a presentation on Bhagavad Gita and Gandhiji. So there is a question from Astha Sharma. She says that Lord Krishna could have taught all the things even to Duryodhana, and if he had done that, then he could have avoided the war from taking place, but he did not do that, and he taught things to Arjuna. So why did he do this? This is one question. I think it was directed to Swamiji. I would take this liberty and address or connect all these questions to you, so that you respectively can address the questions. There is another question from somebody called who has a pseudonym and pseudonym, and who actually sort of was making different comments, but I found this question a bit relevant. He says that Gandhiji was against industrialization and development. So how can we adhere to such a philosophy in the present times? Your explanation on that. There is another question from Muhammad Kaif, and he has voiced out that in case of the Khilafat movement and the Mopla riots that have taken place thereafter, Gandhiji's silence was questionable. What can you say about that? And I think it was a corollary to the first question, that to fight against British and the other organization, Muslim League, which was responsible for the partition of the country. So how could we fight such people, British and the Muslim League, with the means of non-violence? This is one question. So I found these questions little relevant to our talk. So I'm connecting those questions to you. There is another, since I have the liberty of moderating these questions, I would like to ask one question on my personally. Maybe both the speakers, but since Devashish sir's presentation was on this issue, since I'm a student of international relations, and we know how the realism has become predominant in the international politics, and in the wake of COVID-19 also, we have seen the expansionist behavior of China. In such a scenario, if we this idealism or the utopia that we don't recognize any boundaries belong to everybody, but even in terms of providing human rights and the human security, since there is anarchy in the international politics, the state is the only driver which can provide security and even human rights. So in such a scenario, how are we going to believe in this idealism and not recognizing the boundaries, and not strengthening your national security and things which are dependent on that? So this is one question. I think these are the 3-4 questions that we have had. I would request you both to please address this question. Thank you.
First, Swamiji will address.
Thank you so much.
Respond.
We can start off with Swamiji and then Devashish sir.
Right.
You are not audible, sir.
Swamiji, you are still muted. Just a moment, Swamiji. There is some issue on.
Can you unmute him? You can.
Yeah, I will unmute Swamiji from my end. Just a moment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to unmute. Just a moment.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Thank you.
Right.
What was the first question, please?
The first question was from Astha Sharma. She says that Lord Shri Krishna could have avoided the war of Mahabharata had he taught the things that he taught to Arjuna to Duryodhana also. So by that way, Duryodhana could have change of heart, and then the war could not have taken place. Why did he not teach Duryodhana, and why did he teach only Arjuna? That was a question from her side.
Okay, very good question. You know, this is a question some American and British academicians are raising because, you know, for me, as I told you, that this is allegorical. So Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata, there is a lot of research going on. Some people say that there was a text which is even pre-Vedic or early Vedic, which is definitely pre-Buddhist, and there was something like 100 slokas. And these verses, this text was there, whose name is not known very well. And some people are saying that some of the key slokas or the verses from that text were taken, it got magnified over time. It was like certain wisdom being articulated, and then it was fitted into Mahabharata. Actually, Mahabharata doesn't need Bhagavad Gita because there's a lot of philosophy in Santi Parva, and they could continue. There is a, you know, this whole about mukti and moksha, a lot of things are there. So this whole question that why he taught to Arjuna, there, if you are interested in the, you know, epic aspect of it, you have to study Mahabharata. They were supposed to go and meet Krishna. Whosoever could persuade him, he'll be on his side. And Arjuna was sitting at his feet, and Duryodhana was sitting at his head. He woke up from sleep. In a way, both of them are his cousins. You know, Arjuna is first cousin, but he is also cousin because they are brothers. But Krishna looks at them, the guy who is looking at the feet, he gets the order that he'll be on their side. He said, anybody who convinces me, I'll be on their side. What is more important is, before this whole war started, they were basically asking for 5 villages. And Duryodhana didn't give it. And whether Krishna would have wasted his time teaching it to Duryodhana, what did Duryodhana say in the end? I'm not interested in the epic aspect, but what did Duryodhana say? Janami dharmam nasame prapriti. I know dharma, you don't have to teach me, but I don't have interest in it. It's like he's a drug addict. He's saying, I know it's good to be away from drugs, but I cannot avoid it. What can I do? That's what he's telling Krishna. So he is the classic case of a modern man, in a way, who knows what's bad with him, but he doesn't want to overcome it. He doesn't have the spiritual courage to overcome it. And I think there is a bit of Duryodhana in all of us. And as Mr. Antony said, we all of us know there are a lot of problems with the way we think, but we don't have the courage to overcome it. This courage can't be given by anyone else. It comes out of your own aspiration. You don't have the aspiration to wake up. I can only push your body. I can take the horse to the river. I cannot make the horse drink the water. That comes out of your own spiritual hunger and your, and whether Krishna's speech would have transformed Duryodhana and whether it transformed Arjuna, we don't know, because there was again another Uttara Gita, Anu Gita, you know, he spoke again some shlokas because Arjuna had not fully understood. I mean, because it's so difficult to understand. Ashcharyavat pasyati, Ashcharyavat vadati, he says in shloka, you know, Ashcharyavat pasyati kaschidenam, Ashcharyavat vadati tateva cha anyah. Ashcharyavat cha enam anyah shunoti, shrutvapi enam veda nasaiva kaschit. You hear about it, you talk about it, you might read about it, but you never get it. That is the Brahma Tattva. It's so difficult. That's why so many texts, they keep repeating sloka after sloka because it is durbodhya. It's difficult to understand. And Bhagavad Gita is kind of a text in which things have been sought to be presented in an easy manner. But the Tikakaras, the philosophers commenting on it, have made it even equally challenging. It's not very easy without the help of a teacher. But in everyday life, in that sense, Mahatma Gandhi represents the wisdom of the Gita in everyday life. He didn't have to sort of read out and give lectures. His life itself, he said one little action is better than 1,000 words. So in that sense, I would say that this Arjuna-Krishna thing is just superfluous because Arjuna was not willing to change. Even if he would have given 10 lectures, whether Duryodhana would have benefited, I'm not very sure. About the Mopla right thing, I have read about it. I'm not a historian. I have no real knowledge about what Gandhi said. Maybe Mr. Antony, if he's from Kerala, he would know more. And then you're talking about the national security issue. If you look at the Dharma Shastras, because there is ample room for self-defense. Even Gandhi wasn't saying that you cannot do self-defense. I don't think Gandhi said that. But Gandhi, you see, you cannot confuse Gandhi with a politician. Gandhi was trying to live at different levels. He was, as I told you, that he was trying to integrate his political process, his movement with his own spiritual sadhana. For him, all of this was just one thing. And he was enigmatic because he was not easy to capture. And if you look at Madhusudana Tika, commentary on Bhagavad Gita and that particular shloka I read, so this Ascharjavad is that, like wonder, this adjective applies to the Jnata of the Brahman, to the Jnana of Brahman and Brahman itself. So if a person knows Atma Jnana he has got already, he is also a piece of wonder. And Gandhi was a piece of wonder. Because of the way we look at him, he'll appear to be contradictory. But he was trying to integrate the way he was trying to do it from his own perspective. I think towards the very end of his life, he was loyal to his own ideal of Ahimsa and Satya. And there were contradictions. In his politics, there were contradictions. But that's the apparent contradictions. So I'm not an advocate of Gandhi or any particular person. I am from a spiritual perspective. The little I understood about Gandhi, I shared my views. I'm neither a scholar on Gandhi nor an authority. But I personally would like to sympathetically try to understand that person because he was not a bluffing politician. He was living that life. He was struggling. And he was like an open book. He was struggling from beginning to end. So, I mean, that sort of forces me to treat him with highest respect that I can offer. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Swami. Devashish, sir,
Yes.
the floor is open to you now.
Yes, thank you. Swamiji has, I think, already answered some of the questions. First thing about Duryodhana and Krishna, that's a hypothetical question. But I think in the Indian philosophical genre, an important category is Swabhava. Swabhava. That each of us has a particular temperament. And I'm sure in our colloquial language too, our parents will tell children sometimes when they are so mischievous, oh, his or her Swabhava is like that, they're beyond redemption. Swabhava means a basic temperament which is very difficult to overcome. Very difficult to overcome. So I think that is again one of the philosophical principles I learned in the Indian tradition, unlike Kant or somebody, you cannot have a universal principle, but it is universality can be there. For example, every situation is so unique and context specific. You respond to that situation with full attention. So the tradition says that Krishna tried his level best. That's why Kunti finally curses him, I believe, isn't it? He tries his level best. And there is also a tradition where before the war begins, both Arjuna and Duryodhana go to Krishna. And, Arjuna stands at that when Krishna was lying on the bed, taking his rest. And, Arjuna stands at the feet of Krishna. Duryodhana stands at the head of Krishna, near the head. And when Krishna wakes up, he sees Arjuna first. Okay. Then he asked him, why did you come? He says, the war is about to begin, I need your help. And how can I help you? Arjuna says, I need you. Duryodhana says, no, I am elder, you should have asked me. I said, I saw Arjuna first, therefore, now, what do you want? Army. So the army which Duryodhana had, it has certain powers of Krishna. Now, in mythology, interestingly, in the Indian traditional mythology, both, the good and evil come from same reality. For example, we have Asuras and Devas. They come from Prajapati. So I don't think even if Duryodhana is instructed 1,000 times, I don't think he would change his view. That is what we experience also in our life sometimes. There is that in us. I mean, we are so, sometimes so fixation on certain views. Fundamentalism. And it is here in fact I missed that point in Gandhi's. People say that Gandhi was not a systematic thinker. They are wrong. Gandhi was a serious thinker. And I call his method eclectic hermeneutics. What does that mean? That you are experimenting with the truth, with all that at every moment. Therefore, if your logical, rational principle does not match with your experience, what do you change? It's like I go to a derji to stitch my shirt. If the shirt doesn't fit me, what do I cut? Do I cut myself or my shirt? Same way. So Gandhi says, change your principle because there is some problem in analyzing experience. Okay, that's why he would never give the same solution to the problem to people. It's like the Buddha. In Buddhism, sometimes Buddha teaches there is a soul. Sometimes he says there is no soul. A disciple goes forward, Ananda asks him, why do you teach this way, master? He says, when you teach somebody, you are giving medicine. That medicine should be fitting to the psychological, mental disposition of the patient. This is what we do in Ayurveda. Both of us go, we have fever. I am not sure they will give us same medicine. They will ask, they will test my body. Kapha, Vata, Pitta, then they give that. So this is the Indian intellectual tradition, and that needs a lot of attention. So I don't think Duryodhana would have changed. And I believe, and I simply love Gandhi when he says that these texts are not historical, because he is trying to tell the champions of political science, sociology, anthropology, you cannot historicize all that you are. You may historicize your waking mode. Your dream mode can be historicized. Can you historicize your deep sleep mode? No. Right? Okay. Can you historicize your silence? No. All right. So archival bondage is a problem sometimes. So I'm not against archives. They're true. But I think even Ramana Thapar would say that, history is conjectural. Conjectural. We make conjectures in that. So I would say that Duryodhana's event is a salutary lesson in understanding human or sentient being temperament. That's what the spiritual insight what I get in that. Second, industrialization. I don't think Gandhi was per se anti-industrialization in a sense, because he is speaking in terms of British, the colonialism, industrialization, where labor is automatized. Then when you binarize labor from labor, what happens? There is alienation. In fact, that's what Karl Marx says in Das Kapital. The laborer has no right on his or her labor. The profit goes to the Makan Malik or the company Malik or the bourgeoisie. So Gandhi sees this. In fact, you could say, no, Chakka is also a machine. Chakka is also a machine. So Gandhi is against anything that will make myself, exclusively one mode of existence. He says, therefore, he would not, emphasize that. So he's not against industrialization, but if that industrialization caters only to the body of the laborer, not to the soul of the laborer, then you have a problem. In In fact, Hindu Swaraj is an attack on that. It says modernity only does that. That is the problem. Of course, one might also critique Gandhi on this. I mean, I think he would be the first one to accept criticism because, as Akhil Bilgami has written, his philosophical view is that it will be impervious to any criticism. So I don't think he would be anti-industrialization per se as such. But he is against that, anything which bifurcates the human soul. Why he was against India-Pakistan partition? Because that is symbolic of the partition of the human soul. Indian subcontinent. That's what. In fact, towards the end of his life, when he used to address people, in Lahore event, there were both, also in Amritsar, there were both Indian national flag and Pakistan flag. He was happy about that. He says, okay, the division is state. As a nation, no, it cannot allow that. Today, of course, we have a problem, that's different matter. That is my point on that, industrialization. Of course, some may not agree with this, but I would say that Gandhi would be against anything which would bifurcate. In fact, Akhil Bilgami uses one important phrase, cognitive enslavement. Modernity and industrialization lands the human being into a situation of cognitive stupor, cognitive enslavement. And that is very true if you look at today. People who write about this, it is very true. What does modernity landed us in? I don't know. That's modernity. That's fine. Then you said about boundaries. Yeah, we need boundaries. I'm not saying but I think now I
Dr.
don't
Devashish,
think India and China
please start winding up. We have exceeded, the time.
Okay. Yeah, you
winding
said
up,
about
please.
Boundaries. Now boundaries. We need boundaries. I'm not saying that we need boundaries. I mean, I would ask the Siberian birds who come Delhi for in winter. Do they ask permission from Putin to come to India? When I breathe in oxygen at Wagah border, do I ask Pakistan PM or Indian PM for permission to breathe oxygen? When I go up, now of course now no air travel at all, thanks be to God, less pollution, less carbon footprint. 30,000 feet above. In whose area I am in? I think this is the problem. State is a violent notion. I don't know in political science. I'm sure you'll be reading this. Not political theory, but as far as I've read, there are people who say state. We need state. I'm not saying we are against state, but we need to approach that notion in a very, 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 very careful manner. State is violent. Nation is not. Yeah, nation is not. State, it can be violent. And it is violent. I think Devashish Anandi has written on this quite a lot. State is based on violence. That's it. That's my idea.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the talk. Now, I would hand over the house to Sitaram, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Devashish and Swamiji for such enlightening lecture. Before we move towards vote of thanks, I would like to invite our principal sir to make few comments. And then we'll move to Rapti Mishra for vote of thanks. So I request Principal Sir to make a final comment.
Thank you, Dr. Sitaram. It was very, very enlightening and very, very engrossing discussion. And what I feel personally is that some of the questions should always remain unanswered, so that that quest for knowledge and that pursuit for knowledge should continue. So that also, everybody should put an effort, to finding the truth. Because, all this, what we discuss, starting from religious scriptures, everything, sustainability, everything we try to put in 2 hours, which is not the right time to do justice. So 2.5 hours, and the knowledgeable people like us and Swamiji is awesome. Dr. Devashish, he has so much of vast knowledge about all things connecting to the Gandhian ideals. So let something be unanswered. So next year when we meet, and the next time when we'll meet, your task will be much difficult, so that you can find out something new, and we can discuss more and more. With this note, once again, I congratulate Dr. Nina Shiris, and Dr. Sitaram is always very close to Gandhiji, and every time he used to take your name. So, so you happen to be, you can't escape from this Gandhi Study Center. So your name is perennially attached to Gandhiji. So, so with these words, Swamiji, once again, we seek your blessings, your guidance, and your mentoring. And Dr. Devashish, it was wonderful listening to all you want. And thank you, the participants, also, all your patience and the kind of questions you have been raising. So that's why I told you, so some of the questions, let it be unanswered, so that let it be in the, we should all carry on the path of searching for the knowledge. So with these words, once again, congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ravneet Kaur, Principal, Shyamlal College, for such encouraging words. Now I invite Rapti Misra to formally pay a vote of thanks to our esteemed speakers of the day, and all members associated with this event. Over to Dr. Rapti.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, a deeply enlightening perspective on Gandhi, I must say. I truly appreciate both our speakers, Swami Chaitanyaji and Dr. Devashish Anandi, for taking out time to address this webinar. Talking about the relevance of Gandhi during this unprecedented time of pandemic, especially when it has taken toll on our mental health, our way of life, people are anxious about the future and the new normal. And there's a lot to learn from Gandhi's philosophy here. The first takeaway in his idea of spirituality, which our first speaker has extensively explained, where the major thrust is to discipline the body and mind. I feel that this would help in curbing all the anxiousness, which all of us are feeling in different degrees right now. Minimalism is the second important idea, which we can contextualize in contemporary times. Coming to our first speaker, Swami Chaitanyaji spoke distinctively about the spiritual facet of Gandhian philosophy, which is primarily derived from his reading of Bhagavad Gita and spiritual sadhana. Ideas like karma, self-consciousness, God as an absolute truth, body, mind complex, debate over violence in Bhagavad Gita are some of the major highlights of his lecture. Interestingly, he also spoke about how Gandhi visualized Bhagavad Gita as a constant ongoing battle within human heart. Thank you, Swamiji, for simplifying such complex philosophical aspect of Gandhian idea. Moving to our second speaker, Dr. Anthony focused on the element of ethics in his lecture. He discussed the relationship between achara and vichara. He discussed why everybody loves to hate Gandhi, an interesting idea though. He emphasized on the relationship between Gandhi's ideas and different traditional Indian philosophical schools. The speaker gave major thrust to the idea of self-reflection, of which can be seen in Hind Swaraj. Later on, he also emphasized the fact of how the pandemic has deconstructed the binary between the private and the public within, which is a fundamental axiom of modernity. Thank you for such a thought-provoking lecture, sir. Now, as we are moving towards the end of the webinar, I would like to take this opportunity to formally thank all our speakers, both the speakers, Swami Chaitanyaji and Dr. Devashish Anandi, for sharing their valuable insight by accepting our invitation on such a short notice. It was a thought-provoking lecture and truly a learning experience for all of us. We are deeply grateful, sir. I would like to express my deep gratitude to our principal, Professor Ravneet Kaur, for his presence and who has always been the linchpin behind all academic exercises in the college. Thank you, sir, for your continuous endeavor of reaching academic excellence and making us part of this journey. I would like to thank the convener of Gandhi Study Circle, Dr. Neena Shirish Chen, for her constant guidance and moral support. Ma'am has always been great support when it comes to organizing academic gathering. I'm happy to express a vote of thanks to all our Gandhi Study Circle faculty members, especially Dr. Sitaram Kumbhar, who has always shown his keen interest in scholastic endeavors and has organized many national and international seminars in the college. I'm extending my heartfelt gratitude to all other faculty members of Gandhi Study Circle, namely Dr. Hemant Kukreti, Dr. Supriti Mishra, Dr. Monica Gupta, Dr. Anil Kumar Thakur, Dr. Sham Sundar Prasad. This seminar would not have been possible without the unfailing support of all the faculty members of Department of Political Science, especially Dr. Vivekanand Nartam, Dr. Srinivas Mishra, Dr. Niranjan Chinchua, Dr. Ameshwar Nayak, Mr. Deepak Kumar, Dr. Surbi Sehgal, and Dr. Rekha Kaushik. Gratitude is also extended to our convener, IQAC, Dr. Kosa Tiwari, and the administrative staff of our college, who has been doing commendable work by extending their technical support in every webinar, especially Mr. Suman Jha. Heartfelt thanks to all the participants, lastly, from different institutions, and most importantly, our dear students, for making this event a grand success. I'm sure that our students must have benefited immensely from the lecture delivered by our two distinguished speakers. Once again, I thank you all for your amicable support and cooperation. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rapti. Now I formally end the event. Would you like to say a few words, ma'am? Dr. Nasiris, ma'am? Anyway, so thank you everyone for such wonderful collaboration and active participation in this event, today's event. So thank you, and I formally wind up the event today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.